Petra Huda, 280 South Street. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'd like to address you on the auditor announcement and comments at the 3/21/22 City Council meeting. Councilor Tabor, Councilor Cook, and the Mayor made false statements that the Audit Committee process was flawed due to action by a member of the committee, when in fact the process was compromised by staff before the issuance of the RFP, as clearly shown in the Audit Committee meeting of 12/15. The RFP that you termed flawed is not the RFP that the Audit Committee voted on. That RFP was discarded by city staff, and it was replaced by an RFP created by the city staff, the finance director, Attorney Woodland, and the city manager. That's what we were told in the meeting. Basically, that's not independent. In the meeting, Attorney Woodland stated that they were in contact with Melanson, a known proposer, discussing the non-attest services, and the city had reached a verbal agreement with Melanson to do the non-attest services. See the RFP for 2022, page 4, number 4, but no cost was established. Despite the objections of 2 councilors, noting this action was subverting the city's RFP process listed in the purchasing manual. This immediately took away the opportunity of other proposers to bid on this part of the contract. Then, Councilor Tabor, on 3/21, the council meeting, made the recommendation to the council for an audit firm. He did not specify if this was the voted recommendation of the Audit Committee. Was the voter recommendation of the Audit Committee put forward? If not, this action preempted the Audit Committee from fulfilling their responsibility per the ordinance, as the public statement should have been made by the chair of the Audit Committee. Councilor Tabor, then you shockingly kept going, stating the confidential, non-public meeting information that there were 2 proposers and the name of the proposer that was not selected. When the only statement that was needed, that was the name of the audit firm voted on by the Audit Committee. Until a contract is signed, the information you disclosed is never publicly announced, as there is no guarantee the selected proposer will sign the contract, and the possibility of negotiations with all other proposers should remain open. Yes, Councilor Tabor, the ethics complaint against you for you blurting out confidential, non-public information is justified under RSA 42(1)A. The only other correction I'd like to make there is you incorrectly described the non-attest services. It is not a conversion from a cash to accrual. That is also noted on right in the RFP of preparations of financial statements, supplementary information, and compliance reports.
Thank you, Petra.
Thank you.
Next up is Chris White, also on the topic of Audit Committee.
My name is Christopher White. I reside at 28 Porter Street in Portsmouth. Thank you, Mayor McEachern and members of the City Council, for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. I come before you as the chair of the Audit Committee. The purpose of the Audit Committee was to bring the city into greater compliance with the requirements of the City Charter, Section 7.4, Independent Audit. It was the sense of last year's City Council that the standard of conducting an independent audit of the city's financial statements was not being met. In my opinion, the city is further from meeting this goal today than it was a year ago. What is an independent audit? Some of you say that simply having an outside audit firm conduct a financial audit constitutes an independent audit. After all, our auditor, Melanson, would never risk their reputation by stating that everything looks clean when it's not. In terms of logic, that is a necessary but not sufficient statement, no less than the GFOA and the New Hampshire Municipal Association would agree. So what's missing? It's the question of who oversees and controls the audit process. If you dig into this question, you will quickly see that if the people who oversee the audit also have a financial interest in its outcome, then the audit is not independent. These people have a vested interest in making sure the audit is clean because they don't want any dirty laundry found. Presently, city management controls and steers the audit. If there are any problems, the city council may never hear about them. This is why the Audit Committee is so important. As a creation of City Council, the Audit Committee has no dog in this fight. To mix metaphors, it only wants to call balls and strikes. It doesn't care who wins the game. And frankly, that is what you should want if you sit on the City Council. So, how did this season go? To completely answer this question, I would have to disclose non-public information, something that I will not do now, unlike Councilor Tabor. However, on balance, I would give the Audit Committee high marks. We completed thorough due diligence and selected the best firm. In fact, Councilor Tabor agreed with this statement. Today, more than ever, the city exerted its control over the selection process, and as Councilor Tabor suggested, we now have the second place firm, the same auditor we've had for a quarter of a century. This makes no sense, and a concerned citizen would ask, why? As you heard, the City Council fashioned an excuse out of whole cloth, a fictional process violation. But let's for a moment allow them this fantasy and ask the logical question. Okay, then why not choose the best and the brightest? I say removing the dark cloud that now hangs over the city's finances, even for a slightly higher cost, would be worth it. The Audit Committee is disappointed in the City Council's illogical decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman White. Again, no applause. Thank you. Next up is Paige Trace with the topic of Portsmouth.